Okay. Well, bienvenue à tous. Welcome everyone to the African Soil Partnership meeting. This is the 7th meeting of the African Soil Partnership. The meeting will take place today and tomorrow at this time. So from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Central European time. The agenda is pretty dense. I will go through the agenda in a minute. First, I would like to ask the African Soil Partnership Chair, Mrs. Anne Muriuki, to give some opening remarks. And after that, we will have Mrs. Natalia Rodriguez Eugenio from the Global Soil Partnership Secretariat from some welcome remarks as well. So I will start by giving the floor to Anne Muriuki, and thanks again for being with us. Before that, let me just remind you that interpretation is available for some of the items of the agenda, and I would like to thank my colleague Isabel Verbeck for supporting with that. I think interpretation is working already. Am I right? Or wait, I think I should wait. Okay, I close the interpretation, so I think now you should be able to take the floor. Is it correct?
Okay, normalement, in theory, you can all listen to me. So I will do the interpretation. Je vais me charger de l'interprétation en français, pas pour toutes les sessions, not for all sessions, but I will do my best. Please, speakers, speak as slowly as possible. And thank you for that. Let me know on the chat if there are any issues. Dites-moi s'il y a des problèmes, parce qu'une fois que je suis sur le canal français, once I'm in the French channel, I cannot speak. So Filippo, please, you can launch the interpretation.
Okay, interpretation has been launched. Thanks again, Isabel. Okay, so let's go back to the opening remarks. So let's give the floor to Anne Muriuki, the chair of the African Soil Partnership. So Anne, over to you for the welcome remarks.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you, to hear you. It's nice for you to join the meeting after quite a while. I'd like to welcome each one of you to this very wonderful meeting that we're having to prepare for the annual GSP meetings. Let's participate actively. Our contribution is really, really necessary. Even as we make this region get ahead. I'm really proud of our achievements. I think we are doing well as far as the labs are concerned and other programs coming. Please keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thanks a lot, Ms. Muriuki, for your introduction. I will now give the floor to Ms. Natalia Rodriguez Eugenio from the Secretariat of the Global Soil Partnership for some welcome remarks as well. So Natalia, over to you.
Thank you very much, Filippo. Thank you very much also to Ms. Muriuki for opening this session. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and good afternoon to all. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the 7th Plenary Meeting of the African Soil Partnership. This gathering is a testament of our collective commitment to sustainable soil management and the critical role soils play in addressing the challenges facing Africa today. As we all know, Africa is facing a multiple challenge of food insecurity, worsened even by the global fertilizer crisis that we experienced last year, also geopolitical conflicts, land degradation, and extreme weather events. All these challenges are interrelated and require a holistic approach to address them. Sustainable soil management is a key component of this approach. As you know, soil is the foundation of our food system. It is the source of nutrients for crops, and it plays a critical role in water and carbon cycles. However, soil degradation is a major threat to food security, particularly in Africa. According to the latest FAO estimates, over 40% of African soils are degraded, leading to reduced crop yields and increased vulnerability to climate change. More than 250 million people are undernourished in Africa. This is a staggering and unacceptable figure. The root cause of food insecurity is the lack of access to a varied a varied diet that provides sufficient calories and nutrients. This is a problem deeply rooted in Africa because of the low fertility of many soils on the continent, but also exacerbated by this global fertilizer crisis. The high cost of fertilizers and the limited availability of affordable and appropriate fertilizers are major barriers to increasing agricultural productivity. Climate change is also exacerbating the challenges facing African agriculture. Rising temperatures, changing rainfall patterns, and more frequent extreme weather events are affecting crop yields and increasing the risk of crop failure. Sustainable soil management practices can help mitigate the impacts of climate change by improving soil health and increasing the resilience of agroecosystems. In the face of all these challenges, it is clear that sustainable soil management is more important than ever. By adopting good practices that promote soil health and fertility, we can help to improve crop yields, increase food security, and build the resilience of the most vulnerable population. However, achieving sustainable soil management will require a concerted effort from all stakeholders, including governments, farmers, researchers, and civil society organizations. We need to work together to develop and implement policies and programs that support sustainable soil management and to provide farmers with the knowledge and the resources they need to adopt these good practices. Good soil governance is then essential for sustainable soil management. These include policies and regulations that promote sustainable soil management. And we will hear this week, these 2 days, some examples on efforts that are under development to improve soil governance in Africa. We also need to invest in research and innovation to develop new technologies and approaches that can help to improve soil health and fertility in the continent. These include the development of new fertilizers, soil amendments, as well as building on the potential of soil biodiversity. Robust and reliable soil data and information are also critical for informed decision-making on natural resource management for productive and sustainable agri-food systems. As Ms. Muriuki already mentioned, there has been some progress already in improving soil labs capacities in the continent and also in improving the availability of soil data, but still we need to continue these efforts and contribute with robust data for better soil governance. You have a very busy and interesting agenda ahead of you over the next 2 days. And actually, it's up to you to ensure that this partnership contributes knowledge, technical support, information, and cooperation with other existing initiatives and projects to advance sustainable soil management and governance in Africa. I hope that your commitment to these actions will be reinforced by this meeting and that together we will move towards a future of food security, better nutrition, and environment for better lives, leaving no one behind. I wish you a productive meeting and count on the support of the GSP Secretariat to materialize all these commitments. Thank you for participating today, and I wish you a successful meeting. Thank you, Filippo. Back to you.
Wow, what a nice speech, Natalia. Thanks a lot for your nice words. So inspiring for all participants, I hope. Let me go through the agenda very quickly, just to make sure that everyone is on the same pace with the program. As I mentioned, there are 2 days. There is a 2-day agenda. Today, we will start by listening to the updates from the GSP technical networks. So as you know, there are many. I think all the coordinators or the chairs will be there to launch a call among you, focal points, and partners nominate some experts to join the activities of these technical networks of the Global Soil Partnerships, which are dealing with different areas, and you will hear about that in a second. Then we will listen from my colleague Janet Nabwami about the updates from the Global Soil Doctors programs, especially about some nice examples from the African region. And then my colleague Isabel Verbeek will give some updates about the 11th sessions of the GSP Plenary Assembly, which will take place very soon in a couple of weeks. In less than a month, there will be the Plenary Assembly of the GSP. as focal points, it's very important, your participation. So you will listen about the program and the modality of participating to that. Then we'll talk a bit about capacity building in the region. Then we will hear about some successful stories on sustainable soil management from the region and the soil initiative for Africa. Tomorrow also will be like some items on regional activities taking place by different institutions. So we will listen from Mr. Eugene Rorangwa from the FAUSA Regional Office from West Africa about the African Union and the Soil Health Summit for Africa. Then we will listen about the status of the Warsaw resources. There is a review of the report and some contributions from the region is needed. Then we will hear also about the model law on sustainable soil management for Africa. So something about soil legislation. I think this is very useful, and some of you may take advantage of what will be covered during this item. And we will talk about some activities for the next work plan, starting from the policy briefs and then talking about the new work plan of the African Soil Partnership in the framework of the new action areas of the Global Soil Partnership. So without any further ado, I would like to go to the first item, but first I would like to take a group picture. So I kindly ask all of you, if possible, to turn on your camera so that we can take a nice group pictures all together to have a nice memory of this meeting. This picture together with the meeting report, meeting recordings, as well as the presentations will be made available on the African Soil Partnership webpage. So please turn on your camera. Let's allow all to do that in just a few seconds. Good. Okay, please give me your best smile. Second, I have to skip to the second screen, as we are many. Good. Well, thanks a lot for that. Thanks again to Ms. Muriuki and to Natalia Rodriguez Eugenio for the introduction. So for the first item, again, is the we will cover some updates from the GSP technical networks. I will start by giving the floor to my colleague Isabel Luotto to give some updates on the work that the GSP is doing on soil data and soil information. So Isabel, over to you. And thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much, Filippo, and good morning, and also welcome from my end to this important meeting. I will go now ahead and share my presentation. And also thank you for allowing me to present first. So in my brief presentation, I will provide an update on the activities of the International Network on Soil Information Institutions, INSI, which is one of the oldest networks of the Global Soil Partnership. In my presentation, I will cover the basics, just for some newcomers. I will cover extensively on how to get more engaged with this network, go into the specifics of how this network operates by talking about the country-driven approach, talk about what has been done over the years and what is INSI currently working, specifically its novel initiative on mapping soil nutrients and soil nutrient budgets. I will talk about a very nice example of a newly launched soil information system in the African region. And then I will wrap up my presentation by covering once again how to get engaged with this network, how to contribute, and most importantly, benefit from it. So let's first cover the basics. INSI stands for the International Network of Soil Information Institutions, and it is composed of nationally mandated institutions and GSP partners, all working together to establish a global soil information systems, meaning establishing a federation of systems to increase data availability and data quality, specifically when talking about soil data and soil information. What are the main responsibilities of INSI? Well, INSEE over the years has grown and also formalized its role, and the 6 main responsibilities of this network can be summarized as follows. INSEE nominates a national or multiple national experts or dedicated teams to take part in the country-driven global soil mapping exercise that the GSP Secretariat coordinates. They contribute actively to these global mapping exercise by nominating a dedicated team of national experts, by taking part in the trainings in the capacity development program, and ultimately developing relevant national soil information and data. They report on the progress of the network as a whole to the GSP Plenary Assembly. They convene in an annual meeting to monitor the progress and report on the progress on the development of the global soil information system, usually towards the end of the year in November. And they provide access to relevant geographic information to foster coordination regionally and globally. And ultimately, everything we do could not be possible without the support of the network in itself, which over the years really grew and is composed of state-of-the-art experts in the field who contribute also actively to all the free material that we have developed over the years to really bridge technical divides when it comes to scaling up soil mapping methodologies. So here an overview of the network and how it operates in general. So what is this country-driven mapping exercise? So what we have really kickstarted in 2017 with the first global product of this kind, the Global Soil Organic Carbon Map, has over the years really formalized into a unique approach in which we increase the availability of global data sets on soil data and soil information by working directly with the countries. So we prioritize really the capacity building aspect, working directly with the countries to increase the availability of the data ultimately. Concretely, it means that after we have received a formal request from the Global Soil Partnership members for a global soil property map, be it a map on soil organic carbon stocks, or for instance, a map describing how the soils are affected by salinity and sodicity at the national scale. This request comes usually from the plenary and sets in motion various steps, including the definition of the dedicated methodology that can be applied nationally and throughout various data scenarios and also different areas of the world with different ecosystems and climates. And concretely then this, after we have identified a suitable methodology through the support of our technical networks and specifically our INSEE network, key publications are launched under the supervision of the GSP Secretariat, the technical specification and country guidelines, which then lead us to the capacity building program in which we publish a technical manual with easy to follow step-by-step guidelines on how to map using digital soil mapping and also modeling approaches, all based on real data and real examples. This stage is also composed of dedicated trainings that we organize over the year, both online and in person. Once we finalize the capacity building program, we then work more specifically one-to-one with the single countries to make sure that they come up with a national product that is representative and sound for the country. So we provide one-to-one technical support sessions for the country to generate such national product. We then combine all the national products together into a global one and host it on our Glossis platform. So this is the country-driven approach in a nutshell, working with the countries one-to-one to then make information available globally. So while I am talking, I would like the focal points and also INSEE members in the meantime to kindly check this Google Sheet that I'm now sharing in the chat and make sure that all the contacts that we have here for our INSEE network are up to date and correct. Also, if you are a focal point and specifically of these countries here, and you noticed that there is no nationally mandated institution part of INSEE, there is no INSEE member for your country, please check on the list that I provided in the chat and don't hesitate to reach out to me and my colleague Yusuf. I will share our emails in the chat in a minute. So while I present, just quickly check this Google Sheet. For me, this is a kind request for the focal points. Thank you. All right. So the country-driven mapping approach was kickstarted in 2017 with the launch of the first country-driven global soil property map, the GSOC map, the Global Soil Organic Carbon Map, which over the years has also been updated. So what is important to note is that all these global soil property maps that we have launched over the years are living products that also get updated throughout the years. So for instance, if you would like to submit a new map based on new data, or you would like to take part because you were not involved in the first version of any of these products that you see here, again, don't hesitate to reach out to me or my colleague Yusuf, and we will walk you through the necessary steps to have a national product and to also directly benefit from all the activities that we have within INSEE. So everything started with the Global Soil Organic Carbon Map, a product that was launched afterwards that built upon the Global Soil Organic Carbon Map was the Global Soil Organic Carbon Sequestration Potential Map, which basically gives you an idea of the sequestration potential in your agricultural lands at the national scale in response to adopting sustainable soil management practices. So it is an exercise that building upon the Global Soil Organic Carbon Map can give you an idea of where, for instance, implementing projects on sustainable soil management would be translated in a higher fixation of carbon. So a very exciting product that again is still active. So if you want to be involved, if you want to learn how to generate such a product, just reach out to us. Then subsequently, the Global Salt Affected Soils Map and the Global Black Soil Distribution Maps were also launched. In the pipeline, we currently have a product on mapping soil nutrients and nutrient budgets. This is our most novel initiative, and all our trainings have been tailored to support countries in applying digital soil mapping methodologies to quantify and map soil nutrients and associated soil properties like pH, soil organic carbon at the national scale. I wanted to provide a just a brief overview of the submission status of the maps that I just mentioned to you. In orange, you can see the countries that did not yet actively take part in the mapping exercise, for instance, for the Global Salt Affected Soils map and the Global Soil Organic Carbon map. So again, if you're a focal point and you find this very interesting and you would like to be part of it, please contact us again and we will work together with you to get you all started. Here also an overview for the more new Global Soil Organic Carbon Sequestration Potential Map. Why join the country-driven mapping exercise? Well, again, by joining this mapping exercise, you're supported through online and even in some instances in-person trainings. Once you are familiar with the methodology, we can provide on-demand support, technical support sessions by myself or even my colleagues. And we also support you in reviewing and improving the national product once you have produced it. Now let's jump quickly into the newest mapping exercise that we're conducting. This came in response to price spikes driven by the current global challenges. So now more than ever, there is a need for data-driven management solutions, and this has resulted in a formal request for a map on soil nutrients and also soil nutrient budget maps to provide a basis for more effective management solutions at the national scale. This product is called formally GSN map, and it is currently being implemented following a two-phase approach. We're currently finalizing phase 1, which is the development of first the nutrient stock maps, and then in a later stage we will develop the nutrient budget maps for NPK. Phase 1, the methodology is based on digital soil mapping using the machine learning algorithm Quanta Regression Forest. And the extent is national, and we're focusing on croplands in this exercise at a 250 per 250 meter resolution. And again, country driven, and we will work following a versioning system, just like the other products. We are currently receiving and working together with the countries. We have finalized the capacity building program. For Africa, we organized one online regional training, but we're currently discussing also whether we should organize a summer school later in the coming months, just to give an opportunity for those countries that have not yet taken part in the training to participate again. Currently, we have 30 countries that nominated a dedicated team to take part, to be in charge of the generating a national GSN map. And this is the participation that we had per country. So here you see a map showing the number of people per country for the last regional online training that we organized back in January. We had 85 participants, and it's also quite interesting to see which countries really were overrepresented, let's say, in the training. So in the lighter colors, you can see, for instance, Somalia, we had one person, and then many in Uganda. Now, a nice addition to the Glossies family.
Sorry, you should try to close soon because
these are my last slides.
Thanks. Sorry.
So very briefly, just to make you aware, and also this presentation will be shared, so you will have the link here. Here you see also demonstration. This is a newest addition to the Global Soil Information System, LibSys, the Liberian Soil Information System, which was developed in collaboration with the GSP and recently launched. This is my last slide. Again, want to join, want to update your contact with INSEE, want to learn more and contribute to the global soil property maps and also take part in the trainings, do you want to take part in the global soil nutrient and soil nutrient budget map initiative? Don't hesitate to reach out to my colleague Yusuf and myself, and we will be happy to guide you through it and provide you with more details. Thank you very much for your attention. And this was my update on the technical network INSEE. Thank you. Over to you, Filippo.
Well, thanks a lot, Isabel. I think it was a very nice presentation, and I really do like to follow up your invitation to all focal points to please nominate experts to join those capacity building opportunities that you mentioned, and also because we need to fill the map that you showed, trying to make sure that all the countries are participating into this exercise. I think this is very important for us, and also because through that we can build the capacity of local experts. So please contact Isabel. The email address is in the chat, and so you can join the activity on soil digital mapping. Well, thanks a lot again, Isabel. Next presentation is about AfriLab, which is the African Soil Laboratory Network. It's a regional network within Glosolan, the Global Soil Laboratory Network. The presentation will be given by the chair of the African Soil Laboratory Network, Mrs. Lesego Muketsi-Selepe. So Lesego, over to you.
Thank you, Filippo. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Lesego Muketsi-Selepe. I'm the chairperson of AfriLab, and I'm going to give a presentation on what is happening.
We
Do
can
you see
it.
anything?
Yeah, we see the presentation. Just go to presentation modality. Yeah.
Oh.
He's going. Yeah, go back. Sorry, the first slide. Yeah,
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks.
My name is Lesego Muketsi-Selepe, AfriLab chair. I'm going to present to you the updates on AfriLab. Last year, I believe April, you had a meeting and we came and introduced ourselves as a network for Africa under the global network Glossland. And this year, I will be giving you a presentation to show the updates on the establishment, quality control, and capacity building, what we have covered over the year. And this is the establishment, the current establishment of AfriLab. We have 177 laboratories, and last year this time it was 144. And I believe this is a good it's a good increase when we look at the number. And I have included this map to show that most of the countries have been covered, because the yellow part, which is very small, is the only part that is not yet covered. So in the yellow part, we don't have the labs registered yet, but we are hoping, we are still hoping, because we are still soliciting for more membership, and we are hoping that these labs will be identified and they will join the network. Under the quality control, I thought it would be wiser for us to look at the process that we go through to try and improve on the quality of the results that we produce as the labs under AfriLab. And with the assistance of Glossland, we have had assessments done and proficiency testing done, and some capacity building. And under the assessment, there was a survey in 2020 that was carried out to see what the laboratories really, what are their needs, and what are the capacity shortfalls that need to be covered. And this were documented in this document, as you can see it. And because Glossland is not only focusing on the wet chemistry, we have also had an assessment or a survey on the spectroscopy part, and that's the report for the spectroscopy part. And these are the outcomes of the survey that was done by Glossland, and some of them are not listed here, but we have captured as many as we could. And as you can see, AfriLab felt that it's very critical to have our laboratory technicians or our lab members trained on different topics that are related to laboratory work. And we identified some shortages like are we really capacitated, well capacitated on how we should really be handling the chemicals, how we should be disposing of after use, and do we really have our methods harmonized, and are we really well empowered on health and safety in the lab? These are some of the issues that were raised. Accreditation, how much do we understand about accreditation? Do we find it to be important in us? Can you afford it? All these issues were raised in the survey, and to address this, to address the problem in the experienced in the labs. Also, we had carried out an assessment before addressing the problems. We had carried out an assessment using proficiency testing to see the level at which the labs are before we can take action on helping the labs. So Glossland gave a second proficiency testing in 2022, which I'm going to give as an example, but we also had a proficiency testing in 2019. The results that we are going to look at here will be the one that we have carried out in 2022. And the targeted tests were nitrogen, organic carbon, and phosphorus, available phosphorus. And as you can see globally, we had 200 labs that participated. But as for AfriLab, we had 41 labs from 31 countries that participated. I have included that map to show the coverage of Africa in the proficiency testing. And each lab that participated in the proficiency testing got 10 sachets, 10 gram soil packages. And out of this 10, one of them was duplicated 5 times. So in reality, we had 6 samples. And here are the results that we got from AfriLab. We have realized that focusing on organic carbon, 93% of the participating labs were using the Workley and Black method. And when we looked at the Workley and Black method, we said, what do we see from the results? And what are the labs saying about this? And the issue of safety and the disposal of reagents was coming out as a challenge to the AfriLab. And the problem of uncertainty, when we look at the results as shown here in the chart, we can see that there's so much variation between the results that we got, more especially when we look at the E sample, the one that is marked E1 to 5. The coefficients of variation there was close to 50%. And when we look at the bars that we are looking at there, the difference in the results, we can see that we still have a problem of precision. Now we have to say, why do we have this problem and how can we solve the problem? Yes, when we look back to the survey, we can see that this results that we are getting in the proficiency testing, they are verifying what the labs are saying as their needs to be capacitated on. Then we said, yes, we have to carry out capacity building, and we have a plan for 2023. And as the network, what is our core mission? The network here, I'm referring to AfriLab, Glossland. What is our mission? We are trying to improve the capacity, analytical capacity of soil laboratories through capacity building. But this time we are saying it's going to be the bottom-up approach, because for these good results to come out, it has to be the technicians. It has to start low, because as the manager, I do the data analysis and somebody is producing the data. So I need to empower that person who is bringing in, who is carrying out the analysis, who is doing the sample packaging, the pre-analytical part, so that when it comes to me, the results give me a meaning. So this year, with the help of Glossland, AfriLab is going to run an in-person training in Dakar, Senegal, and it will be in October. The main focus, as I was saying, is going to be on laboratory technicians, the people who are really doing the spade work. And the other reason why we wanted to have the in-person training, as for the example that I have attached there, we feel the practical that a technician do in the discussion with other technicians will give them more information, will empower them better, will give them more experience. They get exposure on the application of the equipment. And we're saying after this, then we're going to give each lab samples for proficiency testing, so that we assess to see if the training had made any impact. Still with the intention of capacity building, since the inception of AfriLab, Glossland has been assisting by giving AfriLab, and with the help of the AfriLab personnel, giving some webinars to empower people on different methodologies that we use in the lab. For example, the organic carbon method that we are saying we are using for the proficiency testing. We have had a webinar on that one, and this was a procedure that has already been harmonized. Then we ran a webinar on it to train the staff on the methodology. Then we also have electrical conductivity. We had the electrical conductivity of webinar. We also had the health and safety. As we can see, these are just the guides that I attached to show the areas that have been covered on the trainings. And on good laboratory, on good purchasing of equipment. This one, yes, it's a guide that we included because we have realized that we do buy equipment and get very little training. And this is because when we initially prepared the proposal for purchasing of the equipment, we never really drew proper specification and do proper proposed for after sales support. So this guide guides all the laboratories on how they have to prepare for purchasing of equipment and empowering their staff and ensuring that the equipment is serviced after the service, the supply. AfriLab members have also been participating in harmonization of methods. It's not like this Glossland methods were being harmonized there and we just got the packages ready-made. AfriLab, as a way of capacity building or as a way of empowering the laboratory staff, AfriLab members participated in the harmonization of methods, and they did a good job. Each lab contributed in whatever method they were running in the lab, and this made a very good impact because we ended up with documents that are now helpful to us. And with those few words, I would like to say thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much, Filippo, for giving me the opportunity to come talk to GSP Africa. Thank you a lot.
Thanks to you, Lesego. Thanks for presenting AfriLab. So let's invite all focal points to register laboratories operating in their country, especially from those countries that you highlighted in the map are not represented or are underrepresented. So dear focal points, in case you know any soil laboratories which is not yet registered in Gozolan, please do that so they can join the capacity building and the other activities of the network. So as the interpretation now is not working for this item, let me also try to do it in French. Donc, nous invitons tous les points focaux à enregistrer les laboratoires opérant dans leur pays, dans le réseau de Glossoland et AfriLab, afin de participer aux activités d'AfriLab pour aider les laboratoires à améliorer la capacité d'analyse. Donc, merci bien. Et now we go to the next item, which is about the International Network on Black Soils, and the coordinator of the network, my colleague, Mr. Yushin Tong, is with us today to present the activities on black soils. So Yushin, over to you. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Philippe, for your introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, colleagues and dear participants. So now I would like to share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes,
Okay.
We can see properly.
Okay, thank you very much. And thanks a lot for the opportunity to introduce the International Network of Black Soils and its activities, and hope we can engage with more African countries and partners in our work. I'm Yushin Tong, I'm Land Water Officer of Global Soil Partnership, FAO. So firstly, why black soils? Because black soils always known as the most fertile and high carbon soils in our world. And considering the great importance of black soils and their risk of serious degradation, it has been become crucial to promote their conservation and the sustainable use. Therefore, in 2017, Global Soil Partnership launched the International Network of Black Soils. Firstly, after the launch of black soils, firstly, we want to know what are black soils, because maybe you are one, some of new colleagues want to know what is black soils, because many countries have their own definitions of black soils. So in 2019, the Intergovernmental Technical Panel of Soils of Global Soil Partnership endorsed the black soil definition. So black soils are mineral soils which have a black surface horizon enriched with organic carbon and is at least 25 centimeters deep. And you can see the more detailed definition of black soil here and also in our website. After we know what are black soils, and we want to know where are black soils. So with the cooperation of INSEE, of GSP, we developed the global black soil distribution map. And 14 countries submitted their national black soil maps by using the Global Soil Partnership's methodologies. As you see, there is no country from Africa submitted their national black soil map. I think one limitation is color, because some countries don't have information of soil color. And the soil color is one of crucial properties of black soil definition. So we would like to invite more countries from Africa if they have data and black soils and contribute to the update of this international global black soil distribution map. So now black soils cover 725 million hectares in our world and representing 5.58% of global land area. And in 2022, during the World Soil Day, we also launched the Global Status of Black Soils report. And the report is aiming to raise awareness on the importance of black soils, to understand the black soil distribution and status, provide key information that will give decision makers to promote the sustainable use and management of black soils. 188 soil scientists from 31 countries contributed to the report with their knowledge, status, challenges, management, conservation, monitoring of black soils. Some African soil scientists also contributed to this global black soils report. Why black soils matter? According to the report, there are 227 million hectares of black soils are using as cropland, representing 17% of global cropland area. For example, 66% of sunflower, 30% of wheat, and 26% of potato were harvested in black soils. So that's why black soils are matter, and black soil also contribute, also can be a sink or source of carbon. So black soil hold 56 pg carbon at global level, representing 8.2% of global soil carbon stock. So this year, in March of this year, black soil countries and the Global Soil Partnership organized the workshop and decided the work plan of Black Soil Network 2023 to 2024 in terms of including develop a technical manual on sustainable black soil management practices, update the global black soil distribution map, develop international guidelines on sustainable management of black soils, organize webinars, develop course for sustainable black soil management under the Ideal Soils platform, and organize an international symposium on black soils in September 2023. And this should be confirmed, and we would like to use this opportunity of this symposium to engage with more countries and, for example, update the black soil distribution map. And we will invite many countries, experts from black soil member countries to the symposium, maybe in China for this symposium. We are planning this symposium. So this is the member countries of International Network Black Soils, 33 countries and 1 union officially joined the Black Soil Network. So you can see a very limited country from Africa continent officially joined the network because some countries, they may think they don't have black soils, but according to our definition, vertisoils and these soils can be black soils if they have dark black soils in the topic in the surface horizon, have higher soil organic carbon, and have more than 25 centimeters deep, they can recognize as black soils. So, so here, I would like to invite you as the focal points. If you interested in black soils and you think your country have vertisoils, andisoils, chronism, castonism, and phyllism, high possibility your country have black soils. And we would like to inviting you to join the network and contribute to the work plans of the network, for example, the technique menu, and update the global black soil distribution map, and also can share your knowledge on black soil management through developing of courses and under the EduSource platform of JSP. So you can reach me through the email, and also you can register to the Black Soil Network through this online form. Some countries it's difficult to nominate through the government. If you can representing an institute, you can also be a partner of the Black Soil Network through this online registration. So I will send it by the chat later. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. That's all from my presentation. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please write your question in the chat and we can answer you in the discussion part. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Shin, for the nice presentation. Indeed, I think there is potential for cooperation on black soils in the region. And I noticed there is a question about vertisoils, more in details in the chat. So maybe I kindly ask you to please answer that in the chat if possible. We're a little bit in delay, so let me go to the next speaker while we try to answer all the questions by the chat. Next one, according to the agenda, is next item is with the International Network on Soil Biodiversity, NetSob, and my colleague John Parnell, who is the coordinator of the network, should be here with us to present. So Jacob, over to you, and thanks for being with us.
All right. Well, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon. I am very honored to be able to present a little bit on kind of some of the activities that we've been working on with the International Network on Soil Biodiversity. Let me see if I can get this in.
I think you should click here on view.
Is it working now?
I see a black screen, so maybe you can go back. Normally, if you click on view, you should be able to display it in on presentation mode.
Yeah. Okay, try it this way. Apologize for this.
No worries.
So I'll be able to.
Otherwise, do you want me? I don't have your presentation. I cannot share it from my side. Do you want to send it to me and I share it from my device?
Yeah, let me.
Or do you have it offline, not on Drive?
Yeah, I sent it to you
Wait.
a day or two ago. I just had it up a minute ago, and I'm not sure why it's not working now. I apologize for this.
No worries. Let me share it from my screen then. Yes, I have it. Okay. If you want, I can do it from my side as you wish.
If you wouldn't mind, I think it's going to take me a few more
sure,
minutes to
no
be able to
problem.
figure it out. So I want to talk a little bit today about the International Network on Soil Biodiversity. So one of the things that we've known for a long time is that the health of soils is kind of three different pillars. You've got the physical pillar, the chemical pillar, and then this biological pillar. Those are kind of those three main components of soil health. And
Do you see it
while,
properly, the presentation? Is it displayed well?
yep, that's the one.
Okay,
Thank
just
you.
tell me when you want me to change slide.
Okay. And so for decades, we have been monitoring, we've been analyzing, we've been, even mapping different components of soil texture, soil classes, soil types, the chemistry of soils, nutrients, but biology has not really been touched that much. And so let's go ahead and go to the next slide. But we do know that what is happening below ground as far as biodiversity strongly impacts what is happening above ground as far as ecosystem health and biodiversity. And so part of our problem is that there's been this disconnect between what's happening above ground and what's happening below ground, as well as a disconnect between what's happening below ground biologically with what's happening below ground as far as chemistry and as far as the physical properties of the soil. And so the International Network on Soil Biodiversity is really a group that is trying to mainstream kind of the measurements, mainstream how we're looking at biodiversity and put it in the context of both the greater ecosystem as far as what's happening above ground and as well as trying to map and trying to look at what is happening below ground. It really hasn't been examined that closely. And so that's something that we are really trying to work on. So right now we've got nearly 1,000 members in this International Network on Soil Biodiversity. These are people that span a wide range of specialties, anywhere from enzymes and microorganisms all the way up to insects and some small vertebrates in the soil. Anything that is really disrupting or adding to the soil are considered this soil biodiversity. And so we really want to capture this wide range of biology that's going on in the soils. And so I'm just gonna put some information on how to join the NetSob, International Network on Soil Biodiversity, in the chat. Right now we have 4 different working groups that we're focusing on. And so those four different working groups is one, we want to look at what those measurements are. So let's go ahead and skip to that slide number 4. So this is just showing kind of that above ground and below ground biodiversity connectivity. So let's go to the next slide.
Sorry, is it displayed properly, or you see like the?
There we go. Yeah, I see it.
Is it presentation mode? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Felipe.
Right.
I appreciate this.
Right.
So this is showing kind of the distribution of members in the group. You can see that we actually have a really good distribution from Africa, which makes me ecstatic, because as has been mentioned before, these are some of the soils that are the most depleted, that need the most attention. And so I'm very excited that there is some excitement in that soil biodiversity community to get engaged and involved in this. But I would like to see more. So if you were to go to the Global Soil Partnership page, you can see kind of how to join the network. Please invite colleagues if any of you are interested in soil biodiversity or are engaged in soil biodiversity. I encourage you to join. And then if we can go to the next slide. These are the 4 different categories, working groups. I don't want to call them working groups solely because people think that they would only belong to one. And I want it to be known that you can be involved with several of these different groups that are working on this. So one is working on the measurements. There's a lot of question about what should we be measuring to consider the health, the biodiversity health of a soil, and not only what we should be measuring, but how we should be measuring that. How do you monitor soil biodiversity? And so there's a lot of discussions that are ongoing. We are getting close to some recommendations that we can move forward on what are kind of those key indices of a biologically healthy soil. Another group that we have, and in that first group, we've launched a survey that we've had over 2,000 respondents to this survey on some of the national, regional, local initiatives and the projects to look at soil biodiversity. And we're working on publishing the information from that survey now. This kind of the second group that we're focusing on is really looking at what are some practices that we can put in place to improve the soil biodiversity, to build back soil biology. So if we have a degraded soil, what are some of the practices that we can use to turn that around? And then the last two are really looking at, how valuable is biodiversity in the soils? Can we put a number on it so that we can then, for the last one, have some policies and legal instruments around it to be able to put some emphasis on why it's important to have biological diversity. So we are currently working on putting these together. We are putting together a meeting that we're hoping to have in December later this year. So we would encourage any of you to join, and we'll have a meeting to go over this, to discuss some of the more relevant details. And I am open for any questions that you have. I would encourage you to join the network, and we would love to have your participation. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you, dear Jacob, for presenting the work on NetSub. I think it's very important to build the capacity of the experts in the region on the topic. So let's hope many experts will join the network. So again, let me try to do it in French as well. Donc, on vit tous les points focaux de nominer experts pour participer à l'activité de la réseau sur la biodiversité des sols. Et vous pouvez contacter mon collègue Jacob, il va donner l'email dans le chat. Jacob, if you can, maybe you can write your email address in the chat so interested people may contact you if you're fine with that. And I kindly ask everyone, in case you have questions or if you like to join the network, to please write in the chat or write to Jacob directly. I think he will put his contact in the chat. Let's move to the next presenter, who is Mr. Sergius Justinov from the GSP Secretariat. My colleague Sergius is coordinating the International Network on Soil Pollution, which acronym is INSOP. And I kindly ask him to, so he's already sharing the screen, perfect. So Sergius, over to you. Thanks again.
Well, thank you very much, Filippo. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs, pour votre participation. I will present in English. And Filippo, thank you very much for inviting me. My name is Sergius Justinov. I'm the coordinator of the International Network of Soil Pollution, as Filippo said. And today, my presentation will focus on explaining to you what the network is doing. Well, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the network at this stage, because the network was launched just last year in 2022. It is part of the Global Soil Partnership with as many all the networks that you can see here on the screen. Our network itself is focusing on minimizing soil pollution and achieving the global goal of zero pollution. We target both diffuse and point source contamination in different regions. And we will be focusing, and we're actually also already focusing on different contaminants and different pollutants, starting from the easiest one where we have more knowledge, like heavy metals. And then after that, we're going to go into much more emerging contaminants like PFAS, microplastic, antibiotics, and others. Our mission of the network itself is to provide an international forum for the generation and dissemination of knowledge on soil pollution, promote and exchange practical and scientific knowledge and ideas for managing polluted soils in a sustainable manner, establish the links between all of us, between the academia, governments, private sector, businesses, and societies, in order to stimulate the development for sustainable solutions, because we believe that only together we can achieve meaningful results. And finally, we would like to strengthen technical and technological capacities that we have in order to combat soil pollution. With this respect, we are focusing on launching 6 areas of work, under each of which various tasks and activities will be performed. As you can see on the pictogram here, we have areas of work like the assessment of soil pollution, followed by mapping soil pollution, how to monitor soil pollution, how to do sustainable management and remediate polluted sites. But not also this, we also would like to find this linkage between soil pollution and food quality and human health, because once you consume crops that were grown in polluted soils, that will directly affect your health in a short or medium term. And finally, our last area of work is soil and water. As previous speaker Jacob from NetSub said, we would like also to focus what is happening below the ground. And therefore, if you have soil pollution, the chance you're going to have water pollution are quite high. So we would like also to focus and find this linkage between soil and water compartments. So this is just a nutshell of all our working groups or working areas that the INSAP is currently focusing on. Now, as I said, we are a very young network. Indeed, we're just 14 months old. And as of today, we have more than 800 members from 90 countries. As you can see from the pie chart on your right, majority of our members come from Asia, from Europe, but also from Africa, although not equally enough, 17%. So we would like to have the representation from Africa region to grow much further and much bigger, because I think that we're all aware that soil pollution is indeed the global issue, and specifically in Africa as well. So we need your support in order to eliminate soil pollution in your region. Now you can see here as well in the graph, a majority of our members that come from educational institutions, research organizations, and the government. You can see that farmers, intergovernmental organizations, consultants, and self-employment is very underrepresented. So spread the word, because we need all of them involved in the network and work with all of us. Over the last year or so, we launched various interesting activities where all of you can participate and be involved. As I'm not going to go in detail to all of them, but just in a nutshell, we are currently developing kind of a guidelines on how to assess, map, monitor, and report polluted soil. So this will be much more clear to technicians as well as farmers who would like to understand how to assess soil pollution in their region. We're working together with the Glosalan team here on the SOP review of heavy metals. And not only this, we will also would like to go further and develop SOPs for other contaminants of concern, not just heavy metals, but others. We are focusing on project development on restoring war-affected soil health. There are many countries in the world that are affected by the military activities and pollution from military activities. And if your country is affected by military activities and you think that your soil is polluted because of the previous or current war activities, please feel free to reach to us. SIDS, small island developing states. Now, in Africa, we have 4 SIDS, Mauritius, Seychelles, Sao Tome and Principe, and Comoros. I think if someone from those countries are here, we will be more than happy to collaborate with you and address soil pollution in SIDS. Other than that, we're working with other networks on fertilizers and address pollution caused by fertilizers. and reducing soil pollution risks in agricultural areas. Now, of course, all of these activities cannot be performed by itself. Therefore, a collaboration with other networks that we heard today in this meeting is highly needed. As I said, we're collaborating with Glosland. We will collaborate with INSEE network and the team of INSEE in order to develop the methodology and how to map soil pollution. We will collaborate with NetSub team as well in order to address sustainable use and management of soil biodiversity. We are already working with INFA on developing SOPs and sustainability of phosphate fertilizers. So Doctor's program, fantastic program that allows farmers to farmers training, and we're focusing now on developing this training on how to prevent and mitigate soil pollution in a farmers community. And we're also collaborating with other external partners that helping us to address issues of soil pollution. Therefore, we're open to collaborate with all of you if you're interested to do so. A lot of interesting activities for upcoming year. And if you are interested, please, you can just grab your phone here and scan this QR code in order to be registered for the INSUB network, because registering your email address is the only way of how I can reach to you and say what is upcoming in terms of soil pollution, and not only within the INSUB network, but externally as well. Shortly after my presentation, we'll post a link in the chat box where you can familiarize yourself with the website of soil pollution, and yeah, find your way of how you can be part of the network. Well, last week, actually, we had a fantastic annual event on INSUB where guest speakers addressed soil pollution. The third speaker here is from University of Witwatersrand in South Africa. Actually, she addressed, Isabel Weisbach addressed of how soil pollution remediation going on in Africa, focusing on phytoremediation and phytotechnologies in terms of remediating polluted soils. And we think that there's a lot of potential opportunities for us to work and address soil pollution in Africa, not only South Africa, but the entire region as well. Well, that's it from me. I know I'm out of time already. I thank you very much for your participation today. And if you have any questions or so on, please do not hesitate to reach me out via this chat here or via my email address that I will post in the link today. And as I said, we are all welcome to join and work with us in fighting soil pollution in Africa and across the world. Filippo, over to you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Sergius. And indeed, I invite all focal points to join INSUB. And please, maybe you can write your email in the chat so people can contact you. So, une autre fois, sur les points focaux, je vous invite à nominer expert pour le réseau INSUB. Vous pouvez trouver l'email de Sergius dans les chats. Let's go quickly to the next speaker so we can close this item. We're a little bit in delay. I'm sorry for that, but so let's hurry up and give the floor to the chair of INFA, the International Network on Fertilizer Analysis, Mr. Wesley Friedman, which I'm really happy to welcome to this meeting. And Wesley, I'm giving you the floor. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you. I'll keep it relatively brief then on a time crunch.
Thanks.
So yeah, my name is Wesley Feldman. I'm speaking to you from Lilongwe in Malawi. So I'm in Africa at the moment. So I'll give a brief rundown of the International Network on Fertilizer Analysis, or INFA, what we've done, what we are doing, and what we plan to do in the future. So just to give a breakdown or history to INFA, we launched in December of 2020, and it's a very similar network in its objective to Glosland, actually a sister network or daughter network of Glosland, where the focus is not on soil, but on fertilizer and how it impacts soil. So our objectives and working groups are very similar in this regard. We've had 3 meetings over the course of our time running from 2020 to 2023. We have yet to have this year's meeting, but in these previous meetings, we've worked out what our working groups are going to be, our work plan, endorsements for performance indicators, and basically setting up the network and pushing the progress forward. So I will give information on each of these working groups in a coming slide, but we've got working group 1, which focuses on the harmonization of fertilizer testing methodologies for laboratories. Working group 2 is capacity development and building for member laboratories of INFA and laboratories which are interested in analyzing fertilizers. And then working group 3 relates to the regulatory affairs surrounding fertilizers, such as the adoption of quality standards for import and export of fertilizers into or out of a market, which is particularly important to Africa. And so our members have grown over time, and they're critical to the success of the network and contribute to it in all aspects. So we're approaching the 200 laboratories registered with INFA. Currently, we have 186 from 88 countries across the globe. So almost 50% of our network comes from Latin America and Africa. So we have quite a few members from the African continent, which are contributing to INFA's activities. So working group 1, focusing on harmonization, we've focused on initially the primary macronutrients to act as a base to get us started. So this is your NPK, of course, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So we're very close to finishing our first SOP on nitrogen using the Caldwell digestion method. And we have members now working on phosphorus and potassium as well. As previously mentioned, we are also working with INSOP on a collaboration for cadmium determination in most commonly phosphate-based fertilizers, where cadmium is quite a large impurity. And then, of course, we're also looking to expand our scope to cover all major fertilizer nutrients, which you'd expect to see on a quality report for a fertilizer. So this is in the works for the future, covering heavy metals, carbon, these sort of elements. And then, yeah, finally, the take-home message from this is that harmonization of the methods leads to more reliable and more accurate and precise results, which leads to effective decision-making at the end of the day for the agricultural industry in general. Working group 2 covers capacity building and development. So this is the development of laboratory skills and infrastructure for effective operation of laboratories within the INFA network and fertilizer laboratories in general. So we've got 3 objectives here. So our first, and we have collected and we are collating the data from the members of the network for laboratory sample preparation with a particular focus on organic fertilizers, because the sample types can be so varied, basically solid, liquid, and everything in between. So it's not only organic fertilizers, it's fertilizers in general, but a particular focus will be given to organic fertilizers. Quality control procedures, where we are looking to formulate some guidelines that can easily be adopted into a webinar. So work is on the go with that at the moment. And then we're actively looking for collaboration with other networks to produce more targeted guidelines. And a very long, not very, but maybe a more long-term goal would be the conversion of the SOPs into video formats. So that's a nice way to have it in both documented and video. So it'll be a joint venture between working group 1 and 2. The regulatory affairs, this is an idea which Glosselin has done with the SoilX platform and serves as a base for what INFA can potentially develop. Where we are with this, okay, let me go back one step. So the idea is to have a database detailing all the fertilizer quality standards for import and export per country or region. So what is acceptable in terms of your NPK amounts or percentage, for an example. So we'd like to use the SoilX platform as a base, which is similar to what Glosselin has done with soils, of course, and what they've done with sending soil samples around the world for a proficiency test. So we have accumulated data from our member laboratories. We want to check this against FAO focal points and international fertilizer organizations, which may have this information on hand. So there can be a collaboration or joint venture in that regard, which is because something such as this is so important to keep the information current, relevant, and updated. So our future work and objectives, to give a brief summary, The harmonization, we want NPK SOPs published before year end, which is quite possible. And then we want to look to expand the method scope of the network in terms of our harmonization of our procedures. The capacity developments, we want to develop and finalize the support guidelines and encourage collaboration with other networks and organizations. And then the regulatory affairs. So we are looking for fact checking in this regard. So to identify laboratories working in fertilizer import and exports, confirm the data from multiple sources, and then finally compile step by step into a functional database. The conclusions, INFA has grown in number per region. So please be encouraged to join as we near our 200 member mark and go beyond. INFA is completing harmonization process for NPK. As I've mentioned, we want to have this completed before year end. So we're having a bit of a push for this. And then INFA is open to future collaboration for ideas and assistance. So the members are always welcome to give suggestions, comments, and feedback for us to improve the network. So thank you for your kind attention. I've just given on the slide the coordinates of INFA, Vanessa, and my own email, my Gmail address. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Wesley. I think it was a very nice overview of INFA activities. And let's invite all Pocalfoins and partners who are involved in fertilizer quality assessment to please join INFA. Maybe you can write again your email address in the chat. I already put them on Vanessa. Maybe it would be nice to have your contact as well. Now in French again, j'ai vu les points focaux. Point focal et les partenaires présents aujourd'hui à encourager les laboratoires qui analysent les qualités des engrais à contacter Wesley ou Vanessa pour rejoindre la réseau. Je pouvais écrire à Wesley, à Vanessa et pour toutes les informations. Maintenant, nous disposerons à nouveau de l'interprétation pour les prochaines présentations. Et merci encore Isabelle. Les prochaines présentations seront sur les programmes mondiaux de docteurs de soil doctors. So next item, I would like to switch to the next item. And again, now interpretation in French is available. So you can go in the icon in the bottom menu and select French if you are French speaking. Next item is indeed on the Global Soil Doctor Program, and we will hear from the coordinator of the program, my colleague Janet Nabwami, and also especially about from some implementation on the ground. We have two examples from the region, one from Burkina Faso and one from Togo. The people involved in the project are with us today and will give some nice overview and feedbacks. Also, this is an interactive session because we have some quiz for you. So please be ready for answer also some questions through the polls. So without any further ado, I'm giving the floor to Janet. Thanks again for being with us. And in case there is any questions about the previous presentations, so there are some interchanges in the chat, please continue writing in the chat. We will try to answer there or at the end of the presentations. So thanks again, Janet, and over to you.
Thank you, Filippo. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Janet Nabwami, and coming to you from Uganda, Kampala, Uganda, and I'm coordinating the Soil Doctors Program for the Africa region and also Asia region. And as you know, the Soil Doctors Program more is a farmer-to-farmer training that mainly focuses on sustainable soil management practices and equip farmers with knowledge on how to solve soil problems on their own. And you can join the program part as a promoter. You could look at the terms of reference. I'll put the links in the chat shortly. You can fill in a registration form, and then we can get back to you. You can join as a soil doctor trainer and a soil doctor or even a farmer. So briefly, I'll just show you what the Soil Doctors program is all about. So this is the website for the Soil Doctors program under the Global Soil Partnership. And from here, you can see how to get involved as a promoter, a trainer, even a donor, collaborator. And we have a series of educational materials that we have. Under the educational materials, we have field exercises, and we have a series of posters that you can also have a look at your convenience. I'll also put this link in the chat. And you can also see some training modules that we have. And also you can check out the implementation steps for the program, what is required, and how best you can implement it in each country. And you can also see the different sites that we have and different activities that we have around the world. So for this particular presentation, mainly we'll focus on Africa. So with that, would like to share some experiences from Burkina Faso and Togo implementing the program. At the moment, I'll stop to share my screen, and Filippo, please, you can play the video for the activities that we have. Thank you. Over to you, Filippo.
Is it, do you see the video?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Tout sera noir. Je verrai les vers, les termites. Il y aura des craques, des déficits. Normalement, s'il n'y a pas de cailloux avec l'argile, on peut faire un anneau sans que ça ne se casse. Là, si c'était du limon, au lieu que ça se casse carrément, vous verrez que c'est des craques.
Mouiller jusqu'à... Bon, normalement, une fois que c'est fait comme ça, vous chronométrez. Vous chronométrez pour voir au bout de combien de temps ça va se déstabiliser. Vous n'agitez pas, hein, vous laissez comme ça. Vous voyez que ça se frite.
Okay, thank you very much, Filippo. So at this point, I invite the promoters from Bonasos, Dr. Traore Mahmoud, and then also from Togo, Dr. Kusi Kujega. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing it very well. I apologize in advance. So I invite these two promoters to briefly explain to us, give us the experiences with the Soil Doctors program and how they've implemented it in the country, the challenges that they faced, and how the program has addressed challenges and some advantages of this program in the country. So we can start with the Bonasos, Burkina Faso. Over to you, Dr. Traore Mahmoud. Thank you.
Ok, merci bien, madame. Je vous remercie. Je vais m'exprimer en français. Voilà, donc je suis Traoré Mamoudou, directeur général du Bureau national des sols, qui est donc le promoteur donc, du programme Soil Doctor au Burkina Faso. Le Bureau national des sols, donc, c'est un établissement public de l'État qui est créé donc, depuis 1987 et qui a donc pour principale mission de répondre aux besoins du Burkina Faso en matière de pédologie appliquée et d'évaluation des terres, et faire aussi l'inventaire et l'évaluation des ressources en terre, réaliser des études pédologiques et des cadres d'aptitude, effectuer donc des analyses des sols, bon, et puis donc participer de manière générale donc les formations des cadres en pédologie. Donc c'est en 2022, et par accord donc en date du 6 juin 2022 que le BINASOL a été choisi comme promoteur des sols docteurs au Burkina Faso en tant que promoteur. Pour la mise en œuvre du programme, nous avons sélectionné 21 candidats qui ont été formés d'abord en ligne, une phase de formation en ligne de 2 jours par les responsables du programme. Et ensuite, donc, ces candidats formateurs ont animé donc des sessions de formation, 4 sessions de formation de producteurs sur le terrain dans 3 régions du Burkina. Donc, chaque session a regroupé donc 15 producteurs. Et à l'issue donc de cette formation, nous avons sélectionné 5 producteurs que nous avons qualifiés donc de sol docteurs. Donc, la sélection a été faite donc selon leurs compétences et selon surtout leur volonté à partager leurs connaissances avec les autres agriculteurs. Donc, et au niveau donc, du Bureau national des sols, le promoteur a formé 21 formateurs de sols docteurs. Et sur le terrain, aujourd'hui, nous avons, à la fin de la première phase, 20 producteurs que nous avons désignés donc comme des sols docteurs qui sont capables, ils ont été certifiés, ils sont capables donc de former donc les autres producteurs sur le terrain. Donc, voilà comment donc le programme est mis en œuvre sur le terrain au niveau donc du Burkina Faso. Voilà, au niveau donc de ces producteurs-là et leur communauté, il y a pas mal donc de défis qui se posent à eux et qui sont à même donc le programme Sol Docteur peut donc aider à résoudre. Il y a d'abord donc des questions donc d'adaptation au changement climatique et de lutte contre la propriété des sols qui impactent négativement la productivité des sols au Burkina Faso. Il y a donc un défi donc en matière donc de production en quantité et en qualité de matière organique pour lutter contre la faible teneur donc des sols en matière organique. Il y a donc un défi donc qui concerne la lutte contre les mauvaises pratiques de gestion des sols qui contribuent à leur dégradation accélérée. Il y a aussi donc qu'il faut augmenter donc les capacités des producteurs dans la capacité donc, de maîtrise de l'eau. Il y a de manière générale donc aussi l'augmentation donc de la productivité des systèmes de production. Et l'agriculture étant donc faiblement mécanisée aussi chez nous, un des défis aussi c'est ça, donc d'augmenter la mécanisation agricole et le non moins important, c'est le coût élevé des intrants et des équipements agricoles au Burkina Faso. Donc ça, c'est des éléments que si le producteur donc, connaît son sol et connaît les propriétés de son sol, parce que pour pouvoir gérer son sol, il faut bien la connaître. Voilà, donc, et je pense que c'est le programme Sol Docteur là, dont les objectifs donc est donc de faire donc une formation d'agriculteurs à agriculteurs et qui vise donc à renforcer leurs capacités et à même donc d'aider les producteurs du Burkina Faso à relever donc les défis que j'ai énumérés en haut. Voilà, donc c'est parce que ça va permettre aux producteurs donc par des choses assez simples à faire sur le terrain, à connaître donc leur sol. Et le programme, donc, aussi, établit un système de formation. C'était très important, c'est ça. Les producteurs sont dans leur communauté et ils vont former d'autres producteurs de la communauté. Donc, c'est un système qui est établi et de formation d'agriculteurs à agriculteurs. Donc, c'est un des atouts majeurs de ce programme-là. Et nous pensons donc qu'il a même donc de pouvoir aider donc les producteurs de Burkina à gérer durablement donc leur sol. Et si je veux parler donc des avantages de manière générale pour le Burkina Faso, donc un des objectifs donc du programme-là, c'est aussi de soutenir les programmes gouvernementaux. Donc, et je pense que au niveau donc du Burkina Faso, une des contraintes donc de l'agriculture, c'est aussi donc la dégradation des sols. Donc, ce programme donc va contribuer donc à soutenir donc ces programmes gouvernementaux-là dans la gestion donc durable des sols. Et donc, les producteurs étant sélectionnés, d'abord, comme je l'ai dit, un critère très important, leur volonté à partager leurs connaissances et surtout donc leurs compétences. Donc, la formation se déroule dans leur langue. Vous avez vu sur la vidéo, et la production se fait en langue du producteur, donc il assimile mieux. Et c'est des formations donc très flexibles qui se déroulent donc sur le terrain. Vous avez vu, donc les supports sont accrochés à des arbres. On n'a pas besoin donc de beaucoup de choses pour dérouler donc ces formations-là. Bon, donc, et la théorie n'est pas nombreuse dans cette formation. Et c'est ce qui est très important. C'est des formations très pratiques et le producteur aime ça. Donc, nous avons vu de l'enthousiasme sur le terrain quand on a formé donc ces producteurs-là. Et les outils de formation sont simples. Les outils de formation du programme Sol Docteur, nous les avons trouvés très simples, faciles de compréhension et d'utilisation facile par les agriculteurs. C'est très imagé. Donc, on n'a pas besoin d'expliquer beaucoup. C'est très imagé. Le producteur, il voit. Donc, c'est véritablement donc, quelque chose, donc, un gros avantage de ce programme-là, aussi donc, pour nos pays-là. Donc, les outils aussi que le producteur utilise pour évaluer aussi donc, les petites analyses qu'il fait sur le terrain, déterminer le pH du sol, et déterminer le taux de matière organique, sont des outils aussi faciles de manipulation et ça se comprend donc très facilement. Donc, c'est vraiment un kit de terrain très pratique. Un kit de terrain très pratique. Je pense que le programme peut véritablement contribuer à former, à aider donc les agriculteurs et leurs communautés à surmonter donc certains des défis que j'ai énumérés en haut, c'est-à-dire gérer durablement leur sol. Et pour gérer durablement, comme je l'ai dit, il vaut mieux connaître donc son sol. Voilà comment le Bureau national des sols, qui relève du ministère de l'Agriculture, en tant que promoteur des sols docteurs au Burkina Faso, a mis en œuvre donc, le programme. Donc, ce n'est qu'une étape. Donc, maintenant, nous avons, Burkina Faso, c'est 13 régions. Nous avons fait la formation juste dans 3 régions. Donc, notre ambition, c'est bien sûr de déployer le programme dans l'ensemble des 13 régions, avoir une masse critique d'agriculteurs à même de constituer donc, le système de formation dont on a parlé, le système de formation d'agriculteurs. Donc, voilà, c'est un peu l'ambition que nous nourrissons donc pour le futur. Voilà, donc je ne sais pas si j'ai omis des questions et je reste à votre disposition pour répondre à d'éventuelles questions. Merci, madame.
Thank you, Dr. Mahmoud, for that brief and exciting sharing of your experience with the program. And I'm glad to see that, to hear that the farmers, the community love to attain the knowledge and then to share with other farmers. That is very critical to the program and that is very helpful. Now we'll go to briefly to a promoter from Togo, Dr. Kosi Kujeka. Please, over to you. Just briefly give some challenges and experiences for the program and how it has really helped the country. Thank you.
Ok, merci. Bonjour à tout le monde. Je vais parler français. Comme la traduction est active, j'espère que tout le monde peut comprendre. Merci. Et mon nom c'est Kosi Kujeka du Togo. Je suis le promoteur du programme Sol Docteurs au Togo et je travaille pour l'Institut togolais de recherche agronomique. Je pense que M. Dr Mamadou a exactement briefé le processus. Je ne vais pas le répéter, mais je vais peut-être donner seulement quelques précisions pour le Togo. Au Togo, nous travaillons dans une zone pilote qui est située au nord-est du pays. Et donc, dans zone pilote, nous avions identifié la formation des formateurs a concerné 9 personnes qui étaient des structures d'encadrement, les structures d'appui conseil et qui sont à proximité des producteurs. Et donc, nous avons identifié 9 de ces agents-là qui ont suivi la formation des formateurs en ligne. Donc, cette formation était en ligne. Et par la suite, il y a eu la formation des docteurs de sol qui étaient au total 16 dans la zone et constitués uniquement des producteurs. Et donc, cette formation, comme Mamadou l'a indiqué, a été une formation pratique. Et chez nous particulièrement, nous n'avions pas encore les fiches traduites en langue locale, mais nous avions utilisé les fiches et les exercices pratiques en français, mais la langue de travail a été principalement les langues locales. Et donc, au total, 16 docteurs de sol ont été formés pendant 2 à 3 jours. Et actuellement, nous sommes dans le processus de traduction de nos fiches, et de nos posters et de nos fiches d'exercices pratiques. Et donc, après cette formation des docteurs de sol, eux-mêmes se sont organisés pour commencer des formations sur le terrain. Mais je le précise que pour le moment, le matériel que nous avons, c'est en français, puisque toutes les fiches sont imagées, les posters sont imagés. Donc, les posters en français sont présentés, mais les explications sont données en langue locale. Donc, nous évoluons actuellement avec la traduction des posters et pour pouvoir appuyer les docteurs de sol sur le terrain à continuer la formation dans leur langue. Et en plus de ce que le docteur Mamadou a précisé, c'est ce que je peux donner pour le Togo. Et le processus continue chez nous. Je précise que ça fait dès que nous allons avoir les fiches en langue locale, nous allons déclarer ce système peut-être avec l'aide du programme des docteurs du sol de la FAO, déployer ce programme sur d'autres régions du pays. Donc, brièvement, c'est comme ça que je peux présenter le système. Et je précise que je n'ai pas voulu répéter tout ce que mon prédécesseur a dit du Burkina et qui sont les mêmes pour le Togo. Je vais parler des outils techniques d'analyse de sol, d'appréciation de sol, que les producteurs ont trouvé vraiment très bien, parce qu'avec des techniques rudimentaires, des appréciations visuelles, ils arrivent à connaître l'état de fertilité de leur sol et en même temps à guider leurs pairs dans les pratiques qui peuvent restaurer la fertilité de ces sols. Et donc, comme point d'entrée, vous savez, nos producteurs, généralement, n'ont pas de système de gestion adéquat de leur sol. Et donc, ce programme de docteur de sol vient comme vraiment un outil très important pour les aider d'abord à connaître leur sol et puis à décider de la pratique qu'il faut pour durablement les exploiter à des fins agricoles. Donc voilà brièvement présenter la situation au Togo. S'il y a des questions, je peux revenir pour mieux expliquer. Merci donc.
Thank you, Dr. Kosi, for that elaboration and sharing of the experiences from Togo. And it is great to see that the use of local languages is really very key and important. And so at this juncture, if you have any questions for me, for the two promoters, please go ahead and put them in the chat. I've also included our contacts for the Soul Doctor program in team. Please, you can also get in touch with us. So thank you from Burkina Faso, from Togo, and also from Malawi. So at this point, I'll stop to share my screen and Filippo. And Filippo will share the audience poll so that we can share, you can give us some feedback on implementing a Soul Doctors program for Africa. Thank you very much. Over to you, Filippo. Please proceed with the poll.
Well, thanks a lot, Janet, and thanks a lot to the promoters in Togo and Burkina Faso. I think it was very interesting and so nice to hear from you who are supporting, implementing the program on the ground. The farmers, again, I think the potential is very high. So I encourage all focal points and partners present today to contact you, Janet, to explore the application of the implementation of the program in other countries in the African region. So I think this is very, very useful. Thanks again. There are some questions that Janet prepared to make the session a little bit more interactive. So let me share the polls with you. There are 3 questions I will start with, so there are all the three at once. So you can scroll down, there are three questions. The first question is, how best can the Global Soil Doctors Program be implemented to support farmers in Africa? You can select one among the three options, which are facilitating information sharing, foster collaborations with farmers cooperatives, and identify the already existing suitable soil management government practices which the soil doctors promote. So please select one of the three potential answers for the question number 1. Then question number 2, I will go through all the questions where people can answer. Question number 2 is about how can the GSP focal points assist in implementing the soil doctors programs in Africa? We would like to hear from you in order we can support the implementation of the program a little bit more. First option is by collaborating with local research institutions to identify ways in which the soil doctors program can support other related programs in the country. Option number 2 for this question is collaborating with local research institutions to identify ways in which the soil doctors program can support other related programs in the country. Option number 3 is by organizing conferences with local persons to share the soil doctors program impact and lessons. Please answer while I'm reading also question number 3, which is about how can the African Soil Partnership assist in implementing the soil doctors program in Africa. Option number 1 is by organizing webinars and share the soil doctors program impact and lessons learned from the implementing countries, basically as we did now with the Togo and Burkina Faso, but on a larger dedicated meeting. Option number 2 is including soil doctors program presentation in regional and international events. And option number 3 is fostering collaboration with the FAO regional office. I know all three are potential answers, are valid options, but we'll try to target the most relevant answer for your hand, according to your opinion. So please select one of the three options according to what you think is the most relevant answer for each question. This would help, I'm sure it would help Janet and our colleagues implementing the program in the region to better organize the activities, to implement, promote, and organize the program. So I will give you a few more seconds to answer the questions. So questions are again number 1, number 2, and number 3. Please select the most relevant answer for you. Ten more seconds. In the meantime, there is a question in the chat in French I received privately, Janet. I would like to share with you and with the speakers, which is about the soil doctors, which are the main problems that were faced by the promoters. In French is quels sont les principaux problèmes rencontrés par les promoteurs? The question is coming from Jacques Tavare, the focal point of Capo Verde. So I don't know if you can answer this question about the main problems faced by the promoters of the program.
Okay, I could invite one of the promoters to explain, but I can see the main problem.
Okay. Merci bien pour cette question. Nous, en ce qui nous concerne, vraiment dans la mise en œuvre du programme au Burkina Faso, jusque-là, nous n'avons pas rencontré donc de problème parce que nous l'avons fait vraiment de manière très inclusive. D'abord, on a bénéficié d'un accompagnement très efficace de Carolina et puis son équipe, que nous remercions vivement dans la formation donc, des formateurs d'abord en ligne. Et donc, ça a été donc très efficace. Et dans la mise en œuvre sur le terrain, nous avons utilisé un réseau qui fait qu'on n'a pas eu de problème parce que, comme on a dit, au Burkina Faso, il y a 13 régions agricoles et chaque région agricole a à sa tête un directeur régional. Nous avons utilisé donc dans la phase pilote les 3 régions. C'est les 3 directeurs régionaux des 3 régions qui nous ont aidés à identifier les producteurs, donc modèles, comme on a dit, donc des producteurs vraiment dévoués, c'est eux qui travaillent avec eux au quotidien, ils les connaissent. Donc les producteurs que nous avons eu à former, les 15 qui ont été sélectionnés par région, étaient déjà des producteurs qu'on peut appeler des producteurs modèles, qui sont déjà donc de bons exemples dans leur communauté. Et on a déployé donc ces formations avec l'accompagnement bien sûr du bureau local de la FAO et sous la houlette donc du programme GSP avec l'équipe de Carolina. Et on a fait les formations. On avait donc des canevas et pour pouvoir sélectionner donc les 15 promoteurs là, les 15 producteurs, sol docteurs. Donc le canevas était donc suivi et dans chaque session de 15 personnes, nous avons sélectionné donc les 5 que nous avons qualifiés. Mais nous avons classé l'ensemble des 15 que nous avons formés là. Ça veut dire que si nous voulons augmenter la masse critique, on a encore qui on peut prendre dans chaque région pour ajouter. Voilà, donc en tout cas, jusque-là, dans la mise en œuvre, nous n'avons pas eu de problème comme ça. C'est bien sûr, mais nous fondons maintenant peut-être l'espoir de pouvoir mettre le programme en œuvre dans les 10 autres régions qui restent. Nous avons 13 régions agricoles, nous l'avons mis dans 3 régions. Donc, nous fondons l'espoir de pouvoir mettre l'ensemble des 13 régions qui restent et des 10 régions pour avoir une bonne masse critique de producteurs. Donc, c'est peut-être là que, voilà, c'est des questions donc de moyens financiers. Sinon, le dispositif sur le terrain nous permet donc de mettre en œuvre ce programme sans beaucoup de difficultés. Voilà, parce que nous rêvons donc du même ministère de l'Agriculture et nous avons donc les directeurs régionaux qui sont les points focaux. Et en plus, dans chaque direction régionale, il y a un chef de service régional des sols. Donc, avec eux, nous interagissons parfaitement. Merci. Merci.
Thank you, Dr. Mahmoud, for that explanation. I'm glad to hear that you didn't have really a major issue with implementing the program, and that is very great. So I can see people have shared the poll.
Yeah, these are the results from the questions.
Okay, and I can see like for question 1, majority are up for identifying the already existing programs that government programs that the Soil Doctors program can support. That is great. We'll take that under advisement. Thank you. And for question 2, it's really to 52% of you think it's really critical and crucial to collaborate with the local research institutions in finding ways to implement the program. This is also great. Thank you. So look into that. Then for question 3, it's almost a tie, so more on organizing the webinars to share the impact of the program and also looking at the FAO office, regional offices to collaborate with them. So thank you very much. This is very important and very useful to us. In case you have any other further suggestions, you could include them in the chat and pick it from there. Thank you very much. And that concludes this session. Over to you, Filippo.
Thanks a lot, Janet, and again, thanks to Isabel for supporting interpretation, and thanks to these promoters. Again, please, I ask all people who would like to have more details, information on the Soil Doctor program to have a look to the webpage, because all posters, all educational material are there, available for free in different languages. So I think you can even start having a look and use such material for your activities within your countries. But again, let's try to implement this Soil Doctors program all over the region. This, of course, it's our dream. And I think one day we will reach that. It's a powerful tool, especially to reinforce the extension service that in some countries is overloaded and understaffed. So I think this can be a very nice tool who may support countries. So thanks again. As we are running a little bit late with the agenda, I propose to bring item 4 for tomorrow, so the one about capacity building. And now I would like to give the floor to my colleague Isabel Verbeek about some information concerning the next GSP Plenary Assembly. And then we will hear from Leslie Wiese-Rosanov about the Soil Initiative for Africa. After that, we will close the meeting with a quick story from the region about sustainable soil management. I think it will be from Kenya. But let's first listen about the Plenary Assembly and the Soil Initiative for Africa. Isabel, over to you. I know you will try to make the presentation in both languages, so everybody can follow you, right? Yeah, I think I have to switch off just a second. Okay, now I should be able to.
Okay,
So, yeah.
vous m'entendez
Thank you.
tous?
Oui.
J'espère. Okay, good. So it will be very brief. Ce sera très très bref. Je vais vous présenter rapidement les documents et quelques informations pratiques concernant l'Assemblée plénière. So very briefly, I will present you how to access the plenary assembly document. You know, the plenary will be held from 12 to 14 of July. Let me share my screen. I don't have a presentation, but I will just show you my the website. Donc, j'ai pas de présentation, mais je vais juste vous montrer. Vous voyez mon écran? Je sais pas lequel est parti. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
The right one, no? Okay. So you see here, ça c'est la page principale. Donc, comment on y arrive? Hein? Par ici. Donc, ça c'est la page du partenariat. This is the website of the GSP. You scroll down and you will see here plenary assembly. So you go to the session number 23. Donc, vous allez à la session, à la 11e session. Et là, vous trouverez tous les documents. Ils ont été publiés exactement un mois avant le début de l'Assemblée. Donc, c'est le 12 juillet, je vous le rappelle. So, it's on the 12th of July. All documents are here available for consultations. So, please see them and be ready to intervene during the plenary assembly. Donc, soyez prêts à intervenir si nécessaire pendant l'Assemblée. Vous les voyez ici tous numérotés. L'agenda. On aura donc toute une série de discussions. Il y aura aussi le 13 juillet ce qu'on appelle le Soil Partners Day, la journée des partenaires du GSP. So on the 13th, we will have a dedicated day. It's a day organized for GSP partners and FAO members. So you can see here the agenda of the Soil Partners Day. I will not go through it. Je ne vais pas l'ouvrir, mais vous pouvez donc le trouver ici. Je vais mettre ça sur la chat, comme ça. Ah non, je vois. Non, ça n'a pas été mis. So here is the link to the page. Now, how to register? I will also write on the chat how to register. There are two ways to register. Donc, il y a deux façons de s'inscrire à l'Assemblée plénière. Si vous vous connectez de façon virtuelle, voilà le lien ici pour vous inscrire à la 11e session. Donc, c'est sur la plateforme Zoom, celle qu'on utilise en ce moment. So this is, you will join through the Zoom platform. You just need to register, but this is only if you connect remotely. Donc, juste si vous participez de façon virtuelle. Si vous venez en présence, on espère vous avoir nombreux ici, si vous venez en présence au siège de la FAO, c'est un autre module qui a été lancé dernièrement. On a envoyé un email ce matin, normalement vous l'avez reçu. Si vous ne l'avez pas reçu, je mettrai de toute façon les liens ici sur la chat. Et on a donc ici voilà, un nouveau système pour s'inscrire et être sûr que vous recevez un pass pour rentrer au siège de la FAO. So this is another system. If you come in presence to FAO headquarters in Rome, Italy, please fill this up. So it's in less than 1 month, so be ready and we look forward to see you online or in FAO here at headquarters. Voilà, donc c'est dans moins d'1 mois. Inscrivez-vous de façon virtuelle ou à travers cette app et on vous attend nombreux ici à la FAO. Voilà, je pense que, je ne sais pas si vous avez d'autres questions, n'hésitez pas à me dire. If you have other questions, please let me know.
Thanks a lot, Isabel, for your nice overview. Indeed, it's very important that all focal points and partners join this year plenary assembly. And please take the floor during the assembly. Don't be shy, and we'll invite you to be very active during the plenary. And again, we don't have much resources to invite focal points to come in room, but please, for next sessions as well, please liaise with your permanent representatives here at FAO, so you may work on that a bit maybe. So I turn on the interpretation again, and we will go straight to the item number 6. That is the Soil Initiative for Africa. We have with us today Mrs. Leslie Wiesel-Rozanov. Sorry if I pronounce it wrongly. Liesel. She will give this presentation indeed to present a little bit what is being done under this initiative, what are the future scenarios. And I think the presentation, again, includes some slides that we'll not cover today, but again, I will put all these slides online so that participants, you can go through these slides in the next days again. So Liesel, over to you, and thanks again for being with us.
Thanks, Filippo. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can. And again, French-speaking participants, please turn on the interpretation. Donc, pour les personnes qui parlent français, il y a l'interprétation disponible dans les menus de la session. Vous pouvez tourner l'interprétation. Okay, Liesel, over to you.
Thanks, Filippo. Good morning, good afternoon by now, everyone. As Filippo said, I have a few extra slides. I will go through them briefly, but I kept them in the presentation so you can look at them afterwards. I just don't know why my slides are progressing automatically, but it's progressing automatically, which it's not supposed to do.
Okay.
So let me see. Yeah. So I just want to give you a brief overview. Africa has prioritized increasing its agricultural productivity for many years now. Through the Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program, Malabo Declaration, and also the Agenda 2063. And it set the target for this year, actually, in the first 10-year implementation of Agenda 2063, to double agricultural productivity from 2013 and to have at least 30% agricultural land under sustainable land management. But we see, and this is specifically for Sub-Saharan Africa, that actually only 25% of the agricultural growth came from increases in crop yield, while 75% of agricultural growth comes from expansion of agricultural areas into grasslands and forests. And we know that a big part of why we don't see good crop yield improvements is because we have a long-term decline in soil health. I think for this audience, we don't need to go into much detail. All of you are part of this partnership because we're trying to address soil health. But it's really important, even though we have a figure here of about 65% of croplands being degraded, it doesn't mention, for example, the number or the area of deforestation and overgrazing, which also impacts cropland degradation. And then there are inherent soil limitations as well when we consider soil fertility and the effectiveness of the application of fertilizers. So degraded soils or poor soil health leads to reduced fertilizer efficiency. We also see evidence of low soil health in terms of the target for agricultural land that is sustainably managed. From 2013, the baseline, we haven't even doubled that area by 2021. And we are still far below the target of 30% agricultural land sustainably managed for this year. So we have a lot of work to do. So considering all this, even though Africa has continental frameworks to look at improving agriculture on the continent, we see that without addressing soil health, we are not going to achieve these targets. And Africa doesn't have, at the moment, a continental framework to address soil health. So as part of the upcoming Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit, which so far we think will be in the fourth quarter of this year, we hope, the African Union Commission commissioned the development of 3 documents. The first is the Soil Initiative for Africa, which is a long-term framework to address soil health on the whole continent, including North Africa. Then this will be implemented through a 10-year action plan, the first 10 years, and there will be a summit declaration. So just to briefly show you, again, the Soil Initiative will be implemented through consecutive 10-year action plans, starting with the Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Action Plan until 2023. And the idea then is to review both the Soil Initiative and the implementation of the action plan to identify the key issues at that time and develop a new action plan for the next 10 years and repeat this process for each 10-year phase, at least until 2063. So I will not go through all the detail of the Soil Initiative because it's a lot, and I want to just briefly talk about the action plan as well. I want to highlight the vision because it has a vision of Africa's soils being healthy and resilient, and especially being supported by an African-led, what we call a soil management system, but not in a biophysical management system. This is a system with sound institutions, policies, programs, investments, partnerships, and services that would ultimately support and empower land users across the continent. We are putting a big emphasis on the farmers themselves because it's only through farmer empowerment and decision-making and implementation that soil health will actually improve. And then the improving soil health is not the only ultimate goal. The goal is to significantly increase agricultural productivity, income and prosperity for these farmers, resilience to climate change, and importantly, reflect national priorities, because as you know, each country's priorities will be different and circumstances. So very briefly, there are 4 priority investment areas. The first one looks at optimizing integrated soil health and water management planning and implementation. And you'll see on the right that this is indicated for what KDAP calls the all 4 agricultural subsectors of cropland, forest land, grazing land, as well as inland fisheries and especially aquaculture. So especially in African agricultural context, as we know, overgrazing and deforestation has a big impact on soil health, not only in those systems, but also in cropland systems, especially when it comes to water management and water runoff and water holding capacity. So a range of issues are addressed here, and specifically in croplands, because we are organizing the Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit, and many of the issues that are being addressed now are related to fertilizer. There's an aspect mentioned here in terms of the importance of Did you lose my sound? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry, I thought you lost my sound for a second. So the second priority investment area is all about building human, institutional, and social capital for research, development, education, extension, and support for sustainable soil management. So this really looks at capacity development in all aspects, with a particular emphasis on farmers and communities as drivers of change in soil management. And then it also looks at quality of training in formal and informal settings, and also institutional capacity. The third one looks at optimizing data and information for effective planning and monitoring. So this is where soil information comes in, and especially also looking at planning and monitoring of the impact of implementation on soil resources at the national, regional, and continental levels. And the last priority area, investment area, looks at enabling policy, legal, and regulatory frameworks. And this one is really important because the soil initiative itself focuses on the agricultural sector, but especially when it comes to policy, this is where other sectors become really important, because many African countries either do not have regulations or act specifically for soil conservation and management, or provisions for soil are included in legislation under other ministries like water and mining, urban environment, and so on. And there are often not clear mandates between different ministries of who is responsible for implementing these regulatory frameworks. So it's really important to address these issues, and where not available, looking at specific sustainable soil management and even water management policy at the national level. And here, especially when it comes to regulations and standards related to pollution and fertilizer quality and these kind of things, it's very important to also have effective science policy interface, so that we ensure that good scientific information is informing policy. So in terms of the implementation of the initiative, there are a number of things listed, but it will be under the leadership of the African Union Commission, because the soil initiative will be endorsed by heads of state during the Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit. And there are discussions ongoing to see how this mechanism could be coordinated, and possibly through a secretariat, but this is still under development and discussion, and also to see how to best link with development partners and also the private sector. Now, domestication is a very important part, because even when heads of state endorse or launch the Soil Initiative for Africa at the summit, it doesn't mean that implementation at the national level will happen automatically. There will have to be a domestication process similar to Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Plan domestication, and we will actually use the existing KDAP processes to achieve this domestication, especially looking at the national agricultural investment plans to also look at public and national investment in improved soil management. Then in terms of financing, this is always the big question of where will the money come from. And I highlighted the second point there because the idea is not for money to only come from development partners and externally. The idea is really to see how we can encourage national governments to also invest more in soils in their own countries. So that is one of the priorities, but also to have an African voice in terms of soil health management on the continent for external development partners to say, these are the priorities that Africa has identified. So when you are supporting African countries in implementing improved soil management, please align with these priorities that have been set. And then there are a number of other, what do I call it, principles and so on that are emphasized. So the principles look at leveraging existing institutions, looking at a landscape approach, putting farmers in the center of implementation, utilizing the subsidiarity principle of distributed implementation of the initiative, and so on. It's also putting an emphasis on scaling of success factors, not by just taking what works in one area and duplicating it somewhere else, but looking at the whole system and how the whole system can be addressed to implement best practices in other areas. It will rely very heavily on multi-stakeholder partnerships, especially again, the private sector, but all stakeholders, also farmers, organizations, and farmers themselves. A big need for communication and awareness, and monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. And this will happen through, in terms of monitoring of national implementation, will happen through the biannual KDAP review process, which is already ongoing. So that will require a review of the KDAP indicators, so that probably additional indicators would be needed to speak to soil health specifically. And then just briefly, I see I still have a few minutes, but the Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Action Plan, as I said, sets the actions for the first 10 years of implementing the Soil Initiative for Africa. I did not put in many slides. I just wanted to highlight the outcomes and outputs under this. And at the end, I will show you how these speak to the Soil Initiative itself. But there's a lot more information contained in the action plan for those who are interested. So first outcome is looking at policies, investment, finance, and markets for sustainable soil health and fertilizer management. So again, because of the fact that the summit is around fertilizer and soil health, and the issues around fertilizer have been very important lately, especially considering the Russia-Ukraine crisis, and considering that this upcoming summit follows on the Abuja 2006 Fertilizer Summit, there is a strong emphasis on fertilizer issues in the action plan, but balanced with soil health. So output 1 looks at the policy environment, and output 2 on financing and investment. And there are a number of activities under each of these outputs that I'm not going to go into detail on. The second outcome is improved access and affordability of both organic and mineral fertilizers. So this looks at increased domestic production and distribution, and also at enhanced intra-regional fertilizer trade to make sure that countries have better access to fertilizers. Number 3 looks at greater efficiency, resilience, and sustainable use of both mineral and organic fertilizer inputs, and enhancement of soil health interventions. So this has quite a few outputs, looking at targeted crop and soil specific recommendations for fertilizer use, looking at agronomic fertilizer use efficiency, looking at a digital information platform and database, which is basically soil information systems with related information, and looking at optimizing integrated soil health and water management across the agricultural subsectors. And the last one, institutional and human capacity enhanced for both sustainable soil health and fertilizer management. So here looking at locally relevant soil health and fertilizer management technologies to be developed and promoted locally, scale appropriate advisory services on soil and crops, available and affordable, and the importance of soil laboratory capacity falls under this output. And then number 3, regional networks for knowledge exchange are established. And then number 4 is specifically looking at fertilizer analytical services. So this relates to what was mentioned earlier. So the soil laboratory network activities would fall under output 2, output 4.2. And the INFA, the network on fertilizer analysis, would then speak to output 4.4. And my second last slide is implementation. Again, the African Union Commission will have overall ownership and responsibility to implement the action plan and the soil initiative. And it will work with outer NEPAD, the new Partnership for African Development, to coordinate stakeholder organizations on the continent. And lastly, just on the left are the priority areas in the soil initiative. On the right are the outcomes from the action plan. And this is just to show you how they are aligned and speak to each other. And as a final word, I just want to acknowledge that even though I'm presenting this, developing both the soil initiative and the action plan was a huge collaborative effort with so many institutions. And also I'm happy that Anne Muriuki was able to participate in many of our meetings. And I also want to acknowledge that Oluwole Fatunbi from FARA is also participating in this meeting. So FARA was specifically commissioned by the African Union Commission to develop the soil initiative for Africa. So Wole is also in the audience in case there are questions. With that, over back to you. Thanks, Filippo.
Well, thanks a lot, Liesl. I think it was really comprehensive. You succeed to give a nice review of this complex, the complex structure and efforts that have been done behind all this action plan and behind all this scheme. So thanks a lot for providing such a clear overview on the soil initiative for Africa. I don't know if there is any questions from the participants, from the audience. And again, if you would like to go through these slides again, we will make this available online in the upcoming days. I don't know, Liesel, if you feel like sharing your email address, if people want to contact you after the meeting, please share it in the chat. I see there is an hand up from Jacques Tavares, the focal point of Capo Verde. So Jacques, je t'ai donné la parole.
Merci, Monsieur Philippot. Merci GSP pour l'invitation. Et j'aimerais en profiter pour féliciter l'ensemble des présentations qui ont été faites. Pour la dernière présentation de Madame Lissa, j'ai une petite question par rapport à l'architecture qui a été présentée sur ce programme aussi important pour les sols et aussi l'agriculture africaine. J'aimerais bien savoir si ce programme a été dimensionné au niveau des grands pays ou bien est-ce que les petits États insulaires comme le Cap-Vert puissent, cette architecture-là reflète, si vous voulez, la situation des sols, de la production agricole et autres. Est-ce que c'est un programme qui englobe l'ensemble des pays et inclut les petits États insulaires? Je vous remercie.
Please go ahead, yes.
Thank you very much, Jacques. That's a very important question. So the process for developing this is, and Wale is welcome to come in here as well, because Farah was officially collaborating with the countries, is that it was a multi-stakeholder process with reaching out to African Union country principal secretaries to nominate representatives to participate, especially in meetings to review the process. But we had more detail initially about some of the topics that we wanted to address. And we actually needed to reduce some of the detail because the framework has to be so general, exactly because different countries have different priorities and different issues. So we've made the effort to hopefully find the general principles of challenges related to soil health on the continent and the principles that need to address, that need to be put in place to address them. But the action plan, it states that the idea is for countries to develop national action plans for the next 10 years as part of implementation. So the framework provides the general overview, and the idea is that then after endorsement and launching, countries will then further develop that at the national level to address the country-specific priorities and issues. And I just perhaps Wale, if Filippo, through you, if Wale might want to add anything on that.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Liesel, and participants. I want to pitch on the demand side from the question. I mean, the discussion around having African soil, a soil initiative for Africa started about a decade ago, but it got to the peak around 2019, 2020. And at the World Food Prize discussion, there was a side event that was organized for high-level individuals in Africa. And that was when the demand was made that it is time that Africa come up. Then I remember also at the AGRF, there was a parallel, a plenary section that specifically made that demand. So African Union switched into action immediately and requested FARA. FARA is the Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa and have an agreement with African Union to be its technical arm. So it functions as a technical arm, and FARA is requested to gather together a broad stakeholder group within and outside the continent to develop this soil initiative. And this we did assiduously, even working with GSP. I think GSP was the first organization that we engaged in organizing a big webinar. And that was well attended. The African chapter that is meeting today, you are all well represented in that webinar. That's where we started the discussion from. There are series of conversation and discussion also on the technical content. And I remember that we had a physical event as well as virtual event with African Union member states. That is more than 47 countries participated in the discussion that shaped the content of the Soil Initiative for Africa. And so by and by, there has been in and out discussion on this content. And so now what we have now represented a broad overview of issues that you find in different countries. It may not be mentioned specifically because of the way a framework must be crafted, but implicit in the different pillar, you will find these different issues. Just like Liesel mentioned, after this or after this season, once this is passed by the head of state or before it is passed even, the different countries will be expected to come up with a short document of what is going on, what are the issues in the specific issues, so that it will help us when we get to implementation to give attention to what will happen in the country. Please remember that this is a framework and it's a perpetual framework that should go for like 30, 40 years. And so there will be, what do I call it? Revision of issues, because these issues also, they are very dynamic in nature. Let me quickly talk about the 10-year implementation framework. We participated in the technical group that designed the African Fertilizer and Soil Health, the implementation instrument. And then 37 organizations were involved, high level, including the GSP, the FAO. I think my brother Rurangwa will be in this platform. I saw him earlier on. You know, they all participated and contributed. So every opinion is recommended. We follow strictly the African Union protocol of effective engagement with all stakeholders to get this instrument ready for presidential approval. It has gone through the STC, and STC is made up of technical and political individuals at the ministerial level from the 55 countries in Africa. So it has gone through that, and it's been accepted to show that it represents the interest of the different countries. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Fatumbi. Maybe you, if you're fine with that, I will invite you to share also your email address in the chat so that people may contact you as well as Liesel for additional information. I think it would be, maybe some questions will be arise in upcoming days once all these, the presented content will be, you know, digested a bit. So if possible, please share your email address in the chat. Thanks again for your presentation, Liesel and Wube. And basically, we are almost at the end of our meeting. As I mentioned, the items that we could not cover today because of time limitation have been moved to tomorrow, and I'm referring to the item on the capacity building and the next activities on that topic. Before closing the meeting will be closed by a video that colleagues from Kenya share with us about the World Soil Day celebration they had last year. Before that, I would invite the vice chairs of the African Soil Partnership to give some closing remarks if they have any. So I don't know if Ramak Gwale or Mamadou would like to give some closing remarks before we close this session. Otherwise, we can share the video and meet again everyone tomorrow to speak about the legislative framework in the region. Again, tomorrow we will have some presentation about the model law on sustainable soil management in Africa, We will hear about the status of the World Soil Resources 2025 report, and we will define the work plan of the African Soil Partnership in the framework of the new action areas of the Global Soil Partnership. Well, I don't see any more questions or any remarks from the vice chairs. I don't know if Anne Muriuki would like to introduce the video before I display it, as she's the one who shared the video with me.
Thank you very much, Filippo. Just a short introduction on the video. It's an overview of the celebrations of the first World Soil Day in Kenya. We had week-long activities. For example, on December 5, we had a feature story in one of the local broadcasting stations. We also joined online the celebrations that were happening in Rome. And we also participated in an online discussion organized by Sadhguru on the Safe Soil Isha Foundation. But on December 9 and 10, Carol was organizing a field day at one of their centers of excellence for soils. So we asked if we could join in and just draw the many things that we needed to talk about. Basically, looking at soil from the 3 pillars that we had earlier this morning, the physical pillar, the chemical pillar, and the biology pillar, and putting all that together with soil mapping for better soil management. So we are still in the process of revising and editing the video, so don't be too critical about it. It will be very good in the end. But I think it gives a feel of what the 2 days were all about. Please enjoy. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Anne. Thanks for sharing with us this preview, actually, of the video. Thanks again to everyone for joining today's session. I'm sorry that if we are a little bit in delay with the agenda. Again, the meeting will continue tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Central European Summer Time. So I sent you an email about the different time zones. I will do it. I will send a reminder later today and tomorrow morning. Now, before closing the meeting, sorry, let me share the video that Anne mentioned, and after the video, we will close the meeting. So thanks again for your participation. Thanks a lot to the speakers. Thanks a lot. Your participation has been highly appreciated. Let's enjoy this contribution about the World Soil Day celebrations in Kenya of last year, hoping that next year the celebration will be larger, and I'm sure all countries are already organizing some nice activities for 2023 World Soil Day. So enjoy the video and see you tomorrow for the second day of this African Soil Partnership video meeting.
Most people talk about climate change, but they don't realize that soil of climate change, because soil is the largest water and carbon soak on the planet. Soils all over the world are in trouble for several reasons. One of them is because of the industrialization that is going on in many parts of the world, non-good care of the environment, and of course, climate change, which is coming with extremes of weather, whether you are looking at droughts or floods, that is making soil very difficult to manage. Added to that is a lot of reliance on fertilizers, a lot of continuous cropping, which is stressing the soils, in that the nutrients are getting depleted. Farmers don't know which ones to put back. They have not accepted soil testing so much. So there are many issues that are troubling us as far as soils are concerned.
Soil testing is the beginning of agriculture, because soil is the foundation. And we cannot manage that which we do not know. And the only way we can know soils and understand them is by testing. It is by having soil classified so that we understand the basic characteristics of the different soil types that are in this country.
Soil types vary from one location to another, informed by the parent material, the organisms, the climate, the climatic conditions of a given place. And all soils are managed differently. So if we know their distribution within the country, then we're able to manage them differently. We also map the different soil properties. For example, the soil pH, organic carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and all that. By knowing the distribution of these different soil properties and their spatial distribution, we are also able to give spatially targeted recommendations on how to manage these different soil properties.
We also need to continue to test the soils for soil fertility management, simply because over time, farmers have continued cropping their soils without sufficient replenishment of the nutrients that have been taken up by the crop. And therefore, if we are going to practice agriculture as a business, the beginning is testing our soils, because it is by testing our soils that we understand the nutrients that are in sufficient levels, the nutrients that are deficient from that soil, and we can therefore give site-specific fertilizer and soil emolument recommendations.
Nishasikia mambo ya soil testing, but I was given a detailed way of doing the soil sampling, whereby you dig a hole and then you extract all that soil to a certain level where the roots are able to get the nutrients from. And then you shave it off little by little up from the top to the end. And then you correct that soil sample so that it can give you a detailed analysis of the soil profile from the top to the bottom.
There are many farmers that have not been aware of the soil testing facilities that we have in this country. This is one of the major soil testing labs in Karo and also in this nation. That's why we have organized such an event for them to come and learn the technologies, innovations, management practices of the soil that we offer from this center.
I'll bring my soil for analysis. It has not been doing very well for vegetables. We have really been struggling despite watering etc. And I've also got a few contacts who will advise me on how to prepare a better kitchen garden.
Have your soil tested, do proper kind of tillage. There are different types of tillage. There are some which are able to conserve the soil and maintain even the life of the soil within by enhancing the microorganisms that are found in the soil. Actually, we are saying you can maintain a bit of minimum tillage so that you don't disturb the soil too much.
Part of the efforts of restoring the sustainability of soil is putting more or promoting the use of more organic matter in the soil.
Organic matter is what keeps the soil alive. Because when you introduce organic matter into the soil, one, you manage the soil structure, you also include the microbial population in the soil, and this is what is able to make the soil give the plant the nutrients they deserve.
It increases the water holding capacity of the soil. Also, because we have some regions that have the black cotton soils or the clay soils, we're also encouraging them to use more organic matter to help make their soils more porous and prevent the issues of the soils swelling and cracking during the alternating wet and dry seasons.
Besides testing soils for the nutritional purposes, there are also other issues in the soils that may also constrain crop production.
There are many diseases that are in the soil. And these diseases, if we allow the build-up, then you find that we are actually harboring diseases that are disastrous to crops. I want to give an example of Fusarium wilt. Fusarium now is a fungus. Now, if we allow that continuous cropping of one crop, in the end, you can grow no crop there. Striga weed If you continuously plant maize there, I can assure you within a very short time you'll have no maize because it is a parasitic weed. So this crop rotation is actually very, very important in maintaining healthy soils.
If we don't do anything to restore the degraded soils, then even if we come up with the new technologies, biotechnology and all that, we'll not be able to address the issue of food insecurity in this country.
We are a group of young cyclists who have chosen to move away from the ordinary riding just for the junk, what we call junk miles, but to do something called purposeful riding, whereby we put some purpose into the kilometers that we ride, and we focus on riding towards awareness on different things in the society. So if it's a health issue, if it's an environment issue, and currently we've done a partnership with Caldro. We've successfully done the Kids World Soil Day ride.
Let us speak about soil, engage with our friends, our families, because our children will need food in the future. And right now, we ourselves don't even have enough. And the population is growing and the soil is degrading.
Even in that small land, I believe you need the soil to be tested, because from that small land, you can produce a lot if you have been given the appropriate recommendation for you to increase your production.
What we do on our soils actually matter, and it is important to leave healthy soils for future generations.
Save soils, where food begins.
Wow, thanks a lot for the video, Anne. I think it was so nice to hear about all the engagement you got with the civil society and the different actors. I really think it really gives a nice overview on the type of activities that can be done on the World Soil Day as a representation on all the efforts given throughout the year on the topic on sustainable soil management. So well done to the Kenyan colleagues. We look forward to receive other videos from you and from the other countries. Indeed, let's start brainstorming about the World Soil Day celebration. We will talk more about this tomorrow when we will discuss the work plan from the region. Indeed, we can establish a working group to share this kind of ideas about potential proposal for the World Soil Day activities. So thanks again for the video. We look forward for the final version. As soon as you have it, please give us the link to the video so we can share it with all the focal points and partners of the region. Thanks again. We will meet again tomorrow. Tomorrow there will be another slot dedicated to the sharing of these sustainable soil management stories. So in case anyone would like to share any activities from your countries, please contact me by today, so we can organize your contribution. Can be a video, can be a presentation, can be a speech. You can share some photos, whatever. Thanks again. Have a nice rest of the day. See you tomorrow. And thanks again for joining today. See you tomorrow for the second day of the session. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.